INS Vagir is its name, and it becomes the Indian Navy's 17th active conventional submarine in service. There was a beautiful ceremony that took place earlier today in Mumbai. India Today was at that ceremony. Great deal of ritual, great deal of welcome for India's newest shark from beneath the deeps. Now, the INS Vagir is a French technology submarine that has been built in India as part of what is called Project 75. That was to build 6 Scorpion class submarines. They've been delivered, 5 have been delivered, including the one today, and 1 more will be delivered in a few months from now for a total of 6 submarines. It's a great occasion, and any new asset joining the Indian Navy is a reason to celebrate. But beneath the waves, there is a dark reality that no one seems to be in the mood to address, except us here on India Today. In the interests of the Indian Navy, in the interests of our submarine force levels, in the interests of our brave submariners who do a difficult job with very few submarines, watch this report. A happy day, but with troubling questions. A grateful Indian Navy welcoming its newest underwater asset, INS Vagir. The 5th and penultimate Scorpion class submarine built in India. The French technology submarine entered service with traditional military rituals and ceremony under the watchful eyes of the Chief of Naval Staff.
It's an honor and privilege for me to be here today, as today one more sentinel of the deep seas proudly breaks out the new naval ensign, signaling its readiness to go into harm's way in the service of our great nation. The Indian Navy's unequivocal commitment and steadfast resolve to be a fully Atmanirbhar force by 2047. This is a commitment we have made to our political leadership. So Vagir will be the 3rd submarine inducted into the Navy in a short span of 24 months.
The entry of a new submarine is a very welcome affair in any Navy, but in no Navy perhaps is the addition more welcome than the Indian Navy. The Indian Navy has been fighting an uphill battle to maintain even basic submarine force levels. A combination of broken political planning, the unbelievably long time India takes to decide on procurements, and an allergy to simple and quick decision-making has made the Indian Navy a maritime force with one of the world's largest areas of responsibility, but saddled with the smallest submarine force to execute those responsibilities. The Indian Navy currently has 11 old generation submarines of Russian and German origin, all of which require upgrades and refits. 5 of 6 Scorpion class submarines have entered service in the last few years after delays, with a final boat to join later this year. That's a total of 17 submarines, as against 30 that India should have been operating by now. This is an alarming shortfall and less than half of China's attack submarine fleet. The Chinese submarine fleet, blessed with numbers and aggressive procurement, has been prowling the Indian Ocean for at least a decade now, further amplifying India's folly in not focusing more resolutely on its dwindling submarine force levels. The Indian Navy's submarine arm is one of the finest in the world, but has been constrained by lack of sheer numbers. As with most military assets, technology is a force multiplier, but there is no replacement for numbers. And without numbers, the Indian Navy's submarine arm is forced to largely play on the defensive instead of stretching its legs to the fullest. If all this isn't a dreary enough picture, India's follow-on project to the Scorpion shipbuilding project, designated Project 75 India, has been delayed for a shocking 15 years, meandering endlessly without forward movement or a decision on building 6 new generation submarines. A section of the Indian Navy wonders why India cannot simply build more Scorpion submarines in Mumbai, since it has already sunk hundreds of crores into establishing the production line. But successive governments have held that a separate line must emerge, implying more delays and costs. This decade alone, the Indian Navy should have inducted a dozen conventional attack submarines. It will end up inducting just 3. So while INS Vagir enters an illustrious service, the reality of the situation must not be forgotten. Bureau Report, India Today.